Hey, Gracebased families. This is Megan Hunt. I'm here co-hosting this podcast for the next 8 episodes with Cody Kimmel, and we're talking about what grace-based parenting looks like in action. We're talking about connection and correcting our kids. I'm a mom of 6 myself. I'm from Ruston, Louisiana, and I'm a first grade teacher, a foster mom, and I'm a practitioner of TBRI, trust-based relational intervention. And all those things kind of help me to be able to figure out what parenting really looks like in times where kids are not obeying, we're frustrated, we're overwhelmed. What does grace-based families really look like in action? So if you identify with me in any of those ways, you need to listen to these episodes because they're going to give you a lot of hope and a lot of practical tools for parenting your kids with grace.
Well, welcome to the Gracebased Podcast. My name is Cody Kimmel. I am the executive director of Gracebased, and I am here with Megan Hunt, who is joining me. Megan, maybe for those who maybe have not listened to the last few episodes, just give a quick introduction of who you are and kind of how you're connected with Gracebased.
Yeah, well, I am a mom of 6. I'm a first grade teacher. I'm a foster parent, and I work with families who have children who have experienced trauma through a local organization called The Well.
Right.
I'm located in North Louisiana, and I'm just really excited to be here, be a part of the Grace-Based family.
Yeah. Well, it has been so fun to talk with you about really, and you mentioned working with The Well. A lot of what you're working with is TBRI. I say it wrong every time, but
That's right.
TBRI. You're a TBRI practitioner.
Yes.
Real briefly, remind us what does TBRI stand for?
TBRI stands for Trust-Based Relational Intervention.
Okay.
And that's right. I'm a practitioner, and that means that I'm able to help communicate some of the model that's evidence-based, relationally focused, attachment-based on how to kind of support children and other people that have experienced trauma.
That's great. Well, like I said, I'm so glad you're here joining us and just having this great conversation. I mean, so far we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about how our own attachment growing up affects our parenting and kind of how to process that, how to heal from that, move towards a secure attachment and an earned?
Yeah, earned secure. Yeah.
And then we really got into like, how do we maintain this connection with our kids? And that's something you talk about all the time. And that we talk about at Gracebased a lot is that, parenting comes through connection, that we want to be living life with our kids. And that means helping them with regulation and putting them to a place where they can be kind of self-regulated on their own, a place of calmness and connection there. We talked about how we want to help frame some scaffolding around them to help them succeed, launch and grow. And if you don't know what we're talking about there, go back and listen to the last 3 episodes about that. But today we get to talk about something really fun. And I'm really excited about this. Something we've actually been spending a lot of time talking about and thinking about at Gracebased. It's actually the theme of our newest issue of our magazine. It's all about the idea of play, the power of play, and the role it plays in connection.
Parenting superpower is play.
Talk about this parenting superpower called play.
Yeah. So, play is the heartbeat of connecting with our kids. I heard someone say one time that the way kids spell love is PLAY, that they love to play, and it instantly bonds you with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so we like to think about playing for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Play for connection, like you talked about, play to help kids cultivate growth and learn new skills.
Yeah.
And then play as a form of redirection and how to redirect some behavior before it kind of gets off the track. And so there's a lot of different reasons to play, but the ultimate goal, like you just said, is to connect with our kids.
Right. Let's kind of break that down. You kind of mentioned 3 main reasons why we play. So talk a little bit of just about the power that actually has in connection. How does that help us connect with the kids?
Well, the first thing is that play disarms fear. So when we're feeling nervous or escalated or worried about something, we're not able to learn and absorb the best. And I know that a lot as a teacher. I know that
Right.
a calm student who feels secure and
Yeah.
safe is more able to learn. And play
Yeah.
gets us there really quickly,
Yeah.
right? Even not just play, but the spirit of play, having a
Right.
lightheartedness or a playfulness. So when
Yeah.
I talk about play, it might mean that I'm actually like playing Barbies with my kids, but it might just be that I have a spirit of lightness about me
Yeah.
and humor,
Yeah.
just lightheartedness. And so play disarms fear. It helps our kids to be in a regulated state where they can not only connect with us, but they can also learn and grow.
Yeah.
And research says that we can learn something through play
Mhm.
like 40 times faster than if we are just practicing it without being playful.
yeah.
So it actually escalates some connections between synapses in our brain and helps us to learn something and grow
Yeah.
in a faster way. And I think it's because we're not worried. We're enjoying ourselves and having a good time.
It has to be true.
That's right. And
with
just
our
think of the
kids.
tone of voice that somebody says something
Yeah.
to you. If someone says, "Stop right there." Think
Yeah.
about that, how that makes you feel. But if someone was like, "Stop right there,"
Yeah.
you're like, okay, they're still telling you to stop, but it's a different feel. You
Yeah.
feel different in your body, and your response is naturally going to be different. So part of play isn't just actually playing board games or dressing up with our kids, but actually just a spirit of playfulness and lightheartedness that kind of undergirds everything we're doing and saying. It says to our kids, I like you.
Yeah.
I want to be with you. And you're important to me, and how I'm being perceived by my children is important to how they respond to me.
What happens, asking for a friend, if you're maybe not the most playful person, or maybe there's certain scenarios that are really a lot harder for you to be playful in? I think like my family loves board games. My wife loves board games. I really do not like board games. And just scenarios like that. So maybe define play broadly enough to include those who maybe aren't the most naturally playful.
Well, that's me. I'm not naturally fun. And I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm just not a fun person. I'm very nice, but I'm not naturally fun. So play is something I have to work hard at. And I think a spirit of lightness is that's the starting place for me. So it is not taking myself or others so seriously. And that's where I typically start. My husband is so good at being playful. And I see the power of that in redirecting our kids. I was just telling a story earlier that we have a 2-year-old that we're trying to potty train. And the other day, he and I were about to come to blows about putting on the undies. I was like, it's time to put them on. And he's like, no undies.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, undies or diaper. And he was like, no undies, no diaper. I'm like, okay, he's doubling down.
There's very few times in your life when you can make that choice and not be arrested. So,
but I was like, okay, I'm here with him. We're gonna have to go there. And then out walks my husband with these undies on his head. And he sits down and the baby sits down and he looks over and he says, my undies. And my husband said, oh no, this is my hat. And he said, my undies. And he said, oh no, my undies. And he said, I wear my undies. And sure enough, the baby changed his mind and wanted to take the undies off the head, giggled, put them right on, and moved right along. And I looked at my husband like, you made that look so stinking easy.
Yeah.
But I try to take a page from his book all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes my kids will be doing something that really, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to correct you. And he will just stop and say, wait a minute. What's happening here? Is this an alternate universe?
Yeah.
Did I hear like disrespect? And the kids are like, oh, Dad. He's like, I don't know where I am, but I'm not, and just being silly.
Yep.
And it turns the corner, snaps kids right into a different direction. He could have come in and roared and been like, you're not going to talk to your mother like that.
Right.
But instead, he led with playfulness.
Yeah.
Now, if that wouldn't have changed things, let's say we had a kid that doubled down on their rudeness, then we might not have been able to use that.
Yeah.
But I think kind of starting with not taking yourself so seriously and really is a good starting point for people that are not naturally playful.
Right.
And then also looking for kind of places where you feel like you're prone to kind of roar or that are some pain points for you.
Yeah.
To see that as an area to start naturally kind of inserting some play before you get to that place.
Well, I know, so you mentioned kind of this idea of redirecting behavior. And that's kind of one of the other things, one of the 3 things you mentioned. I think that's so powerful. Like, and it seems like, and that's what you just said with your husband is a great example of that, where you kind of see it coming. And let's face it, like as parents, you can generally see, you can see it, the disaster before it's about to happen. And there's, you have sometimes a pretty short ramp before it goes off the rails. But in those moments, that's where I think the real superpower happens, where you can be like, okay, instead of this going where I think it's going to go, what if we just shifted it a little bit? And it's amazing how quickly kids respond to that.
Yes. And one thing I learned, with that, one trick that I had a teacher years ago who, when she was about to get mad and yell, instead of yelling, she would sing. Mm-hmm. And so instead of being like, sit down right now, she'd be like, sit down right now. And the kids were like, huh?
Yeah.
They looked around, but it was her like last ditch effort as like, I'm about to scream, so I will sing. And every time it turned it around.
Yeah.
I think of a lot of times that it's sometimes too late for me by the time it's coming. So I have to practice a lot sooner than maybe my husband. His come up really quick. Yeah. He's very natural at redirecting with play. For me, I have to start a lot earlier, and I have to have some like phrases in my mind that I'm going to say in a playful way. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times I'm like, wait, did I hear that right? That's something that I say if someone is being ugly or rude. Mm-hmm. Or like if I have a kid that's rolling their eyes, I might say something like, what are you looking at up there? Yeah. Some of those phrases that I'm like, okay, when this happens, I'm going to use this phrase and I'm going to
disarm them.
And that can kind of see if we can start to redirect some things. And I think as parents, we don't want to power struggle with our kids. No. We want to avoid that at all cost. I think of a time with my son who's 7, and I had asked him to go put away his laundry, and I had asked him to put his dirty socks in the laundry basket. Well, he was doing something else. So he kind of begrudgingly got the socks and kind of threw them towards the basket. Well, they didn't make it in. Yeah. And I was kind of irked because I was like, look, all I asked you to do was just put these in there. Come on. We're trying to teach.
It's the least hard part of this whole process.
We're trying to be responsible here. And I had a moment that I thought, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to say like, you get back here and put those socks in. They didn't make it in. I'm not your maid. All the things. Yeah. And instead, I looked at him and I said, hey, rebound. You missed.
Yeah.
And he went and he kind of looked at me. He grinned and he picked up the socks and he shot it again. Yeah. And I was like, you swish. Yeah. Go for 3. And so he picked the other one up, scooted back and swish again. And so we took a moment that could have been really tense, and I kind of spun it around and used a playful moment. And in the end, like, he was grinning. Yeah. He was walking away from that interaction with his mom about putting his socks in the laundry basket with a smile on his face. And I felt really content with how that whole interaction went. But it was that split second decision of which way, how am I as the parent going to respond?
Right. Well, and, I can see how there might be some pushback to this where it's like, well, if they're misbehaving, then clearly like this is the time we need to teach them respect. We need to teach them obedience. We need to teach them all this stuff, where it's like playing with them seems to like let them off the hook for some type of misbehavior. But that's not what I'm hearing. And that, so it seems like, so what is one way you navigate around that? Why is it more important to come up front, redirect behavior through play?
Sure. Well, I think it's the place we start. Yeah. I think it's the place that we start. I think we do a lot of proactive playing so that our relationship with our kids is strong as it's going to be. We know that we're going to have to use our relational equity with our kids to ask them to do things they don't want to do, right? At some point, I'm going to have to ask my children to do something, whether it's obey, either do something or don't do something. Stop doing something they want to do or start doing something I want them to do. Yeah. And it's going to be dependent largely on their relationship with me about whether or not they're willing to do that. For some of our kids from hard places, it's, do I trust this adult in my life? Yeah. For kids that do have a trusting relationship with their parent, it might just be, am I willing to obey? Am I willing to do something for them? And I find that if we have proactively built in play into our relationship with our kids, and we generally have a great relationship with them, they're more likely, more willing to obey us and do things for us because they like us. They want to be with us. And that's not why we play with our kids. We don't just want them to like us, but we want to build into them that connection so that they're willing to follow us as we're discipling them and putting them in the right direction.
I love that term, relational equity. I think about it a lot, particularly as my kids have gotten older, my older kids, because when they're younger, there's maybe a little more tools in the toolbox to redirect behavior, or if the behavior has gone off the rails, to end behavior, and all that stuff. And as they get older, like the leverage you have essentially is a lot less. There's not very many things that you can kind of use to try to bring them back, and or the things you have to use to bring them back get way more extreme if that's your tactic going into it. So I have found relational equity, particularly as they get older, is so important. I will tell my kids this all the time. I would rather just be able to have a conversation with you. That's when we're out of line or we're not in sync or something's happening. I want to be at a place where we trust each other enough, we enjoy each other enough, we respect each other enough, where we can have a conversation and figure this out. I really don't want to have to resort to other things. I mean, and that's not to say that we won't if we need to, but I would much rather do that. But that takes relational equity. And I don't know if you've found this to be true, but it's also a lot harder to do that as they get older and find those moments of play. So I love this idea of kind of building this kind of into your life. Not only is it, it can be awkward sometimes to do that. Maybe it's not our natural bent. One of the other, I think, challenges for us as parents is just the reality of busyness. Like, my wife and I, we actually really work hard to try to not say yes to everything. We are disciplined about it. Our kids can kind of do one extracurricular thing and all that stuff. But we have 4 of them. That adds up. And so even with intentionality, we are busy parents. Talk a little bit about that. How, I know some of it is just the attitude of play, but how can parents go about still maintaining a playfulness in the midst of busyness?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite things is thinking about, we don't have to play, we can play one-on-one with our kids in order to create a deep intentional connection. And I like to use something called hang time. And it's 5 minutes that I set aside with a specific child for a specific amount of time. So maybe if I'm really working on my relationship with my 11-year-old, I would say hey, every day at 4:30, we're going to have hang time. And that's 5 minutes. And we can do something that's child-led. And during that time, it's usually like Legos or drawing or something like that. Yeah. And during that time, my whole goal is connection with her. And so I might be noticing the things she's doing. I might be doing some behavior matching. She's drawing a unicorn. I'm also drawing a unicorn. Or I might be just noticing what they're doing. Like, oh, you added a door on your castle on that side. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And so just 5 minutes set aside can be very intentional and saying, we're going to do this every day. And maybe it's like, we're going to do this every day for a week. Maybe it's a longer period of time, but that really intentionally builds with one-on-one. And you can play with your whole family at one time. And the thing I like to do with this is races and contests. Now, again, I'm not naturally fun, but I did work at a Christian summer camp as a college student.
You can learn some great tools there.
And they're serious about their fun over there. And so I learned some fun tactics. And one is make anything a race. Like, hey guys, how long, let's bet, how long you think it's going to take us until we get to school? Okay, we're going to start at the yellow house. How long? Everyone, okay, put your bets in. Okay, winner, gets to ride in the front seat all week. That is a really silly, fun thing to do. Let's see how long it takes us all to put away our laundry. Okay, ready, set, go. Timer. Races. So timers, that kind of thing, it just makes it fun rather than boring. You could say, hey, we're all going to put away our laundry, guys. And they're like, eh. And a lot of times I make up silly names for things. So laundry, notoriously in my house, we call it a laundry factory. Guys, it's time to play laundry factory. They're like, I don't want to play laundry factory. It's going to be great. Come on, employees report to work in 10 minutes. They're like, oh. But it's we're going to play for 30 minutes. So it just, and I pretend like I'm the the boss lady and they pretend like they're the workers. And I'm like, I will give a bonus to anyone who, silly.
I love gamifying chores. That's one of my favorites, where sometimes it can be as simple as like, hey, I bet you can't go put your laundry away while hopping on one foot. Like there's no way you can do something like that. Or I'll do I love tag team where like, hey, you go do this for 30 seconds and then come back and tag team somebody else. And sometimes I get that that's not always the case, but little things like that, I think really it's about changing your mindset about
really
the way
is.
you approach life.
Yeah.
Where it's not saying like, okay, we have all these things that we got to do and now I've got to put 30 minutes of play into my schedule.
Sure.
It's looking at your schedule, looking at what are the things that you already have to do.
What could I do that's hard that could be easier if I just did it in a different, happy way?
Yeah.
And for me, I just had to ask God to help me with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not naturally good at playing.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to naturally find ways to be playful. But I found with my attitude about things, like we're going to have to do the laundry one way or the other. And I want to train my children to be joyful when we're working as much as we can and to have a positive attitude as much as we can. And so really being playful with that really helps. And that takes no time to just change your mindset about being playful. And I think just being intentional about like, okay, this is the one area that I want to try to be more playful with. And maybe it is just something simple, like we're going to put away our laundry and set a timer to see how long it takes us and see if we can beat our time. Maybe it's just that one thing. Like everybody hates this chore. Yeah. But I think it will go a really long way with our kids and them wanting to be with us and us building some relational equity so that we can help them continue to grow.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Greg from Pasadena, California. Gracebased make free resources for parents thanks to the generosity of listeners like you. To join in the work of transforming generations of families, go to gracebased.com/join.